Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Intuitive Guidance with Torniamo. Today, I have George with me, who is a sound therapist and also the founder of Temple of Naga, which you call a modern temple, which I really like. Tell me a bit about why did you call it a modern temple? Like, what does that mean, and why did you choose that precise phrasing?
So to me, a modern temple is a place that we can go, all of us, whether we're spiritual, whether we're not, just a place to come and have that ritual moment, that moment in our day to just land and be with ourselves and connect to whatever you want to connect to. And I didn't want it to feel religious. I didn't want it to feel like it has a specific agenda or outlook on spirituality. I just wanted it to be a
Mm.
place that people could come to
Mm.
ultimately. And also, the practice, the sessions that I run are in my garden studio, and
Mm.
that's my temple. It's somewhere that I go to every day, multiple times a day. To have my reflection time, and it feels like a temple to me. So that's where the name came from.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, I've looked at your pictures on Instagram, and it looks beautifully curated, right? We were talking about
Thank
before I
you.
came on how long it would take me to get to where you are, because I was like, oh, I'd love to come and visit one day and have a
Oh,
session, because I think, space is such an interesting thing to like tap into and like curating that temple space of healing, if you like. And I think that's such an interesting thing. Just peeling back slightly though, because I jumped straight into what is the modern temple of Naga. You're also a sound therapist, since because your main instrument is the Tibetan bowls. Is that correct?
all different
Ah,
modalities of sound, yeah. So gongs, Himalayan bowls, crystal
right.
bowls, lots of different sound textures, and then therapy bowls as well. So the bowls that you place on the body.
Oh, I just thought that was
Mm.
Himalayan bowls. I am totally lost here. What is the
No, that's fine.
therapy
So,
bowls?
so a therapy bowl is different to a Himalayan singing bowl. So Himalayan bowls tend to be thicker and they're a more harmonic kind of sound. So you
Mm.
tend to
Mm.
pair them harmonically, whereas a therapy bowl is a lot thinner, the material, and the bowl is wider. So when you place it on the body, the vibration, you feel it a lot deeper. And also they're less
Ah.
heavy as well. If you're placing a really big Himalayan bowl on someone, you don't want to crush them with this heavy bowl. So it's really nice and light, easy to move around the body.
Yeah.
So I use those in my one-to-one sessions. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I was about to say, because I've lifted a Himalayan bowl once, and I was like, this is heavy. Like, who is? So I was picking up a bowl, not a bowl, like a bowl bag for a friend the other day, and she always carries like three bags around with like loads of bowls in them, and she's like tiny.
Yeah.
And I carried this one bag, and I was just like, how does this tiny little girl
Yeah.
carry all of these bowls around every day? That is so impressive.
I was about
And
to say, if you picked up one and thought it was heavy, try like a suitcase full when you're
yeah.
lugging that around. It is like a workout. Yeah, definitely don't need to go to the gym because of that.
So, where did your journey with sound begin? Like, what was the sort of motivational spur?
Well, I guess it started way before I knew that I wanted to offer it to anyone else, right? So
Mm,
I think it's probably the same for a lot of therapists, right? That it starts from a period of imbalance in their own life. So
mm,
there's definitely a time. We were just before we came on camera, we're talking about me living in London, and that was definitely part of that time as well. But I felt I lived very inauthentically to what I knew was right for me and at a pace that was there to fit a social norm or everyone else's pace, basically. And that, over a long period of time of not listening to yourself, I believe that it starts to it starts to imprint on your body with health problems, right? Maybe small
mm,
health problems at first, and then it started to get really bad. So I was really poorly with like my stomach, my digestion part, and for me, I think that was not being able to digest life. Like life was moving
mm.
so quickly for me. I was so busy every day, running around here, there, and everywhere, and I just didn't have time to digest anything, any information I was receiving. So then my body then stopped digesting, basically.
Mm.
And so yeah, so that was kind of like the wake up call for me. And then I just noticed, so nature for me is my temple. Somewhere that I go to that really brings me back to myself. And I'm a very sensory person, so sounds. I
Mm.
just noticed how they would instantly connect with me. So listening to bird song, being at the beach and hearing waves, those sounds instantly affected how I felt in my nervous system. Um, and also music, right? I'm definitely one of those people that really feels music.
Mm.
I don't even know whether everybody feels this or not, but I could easily cry at a song that makes me feel
Mm.
something. And so yeah, I started going to kind of sound baths, and I practice yoga anyway. And just those moments of like laying there, being calm, having moments to digest, I started to notice my health problems started to lift. Um, and this was a chronic condition I was supposed to have for the rest of my life that would get worse over time. And it's gone
Mm.
completely, which is crazy. And I just think it was just from slowing down in general. So yeah, so I started doing it for me, and I had this space at home, and my friends would come, and we would share that quiet space together. Um, and yeah, I just felt that other people need this, need moments of
Mm.
calm and slow without without pressure. They need to be good at it. I think the great
Mm.
thing about sound is it's accessible for everybody.
Mm.
It's not something that you have to practice in. You don't have to be good at listening or feeling sound. And so I just wanted to offer that to other people.
That's beautiful. And I mean, I was thinking about you were talking about that you had decided to like slow down and live a slower lifestyle. I mean, I think
Mm.
this in this day and age that takes a tremendous amount of courage, right? To be like, actually, I'm going to step away from that hustle and bustle and just live my life at my pace.
Hmm.
Where
Hmm.
does that courage come from? Because I arguably think that does take courage, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah, I think you're right, because it is really easy to follow along the crowd, and it's something that I did for a really long time. And as I said, it's why I got ill in the first
Mm,
place. I think it was just that moment of, I was just kind of mid-20s, and I think that's a time where you really start to learn who you are, first of all.
mm,
It's that time of being like, this is who I am outside of my friendship groups. Like, as I'm growing up, you start to root within yourself more. And I just was like, I can't live this life anymore. It wasn't even so much a decision. It was like, this just feels so wrong. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
mm.
And then I spent a lot of time in Morocco. So I used to run a business where I imported homeware.
Right.
And I would go on sourcing trips in Morocco. And the way that people live out there is a lot slower. They don't look at the clock all day. They're not rushing around. You see somebody in the street that you haven't seen for ages, and you sit down and have a tea with them. You don't say, "Oh, sorry, I haven't got time." And so, like, that really inspired me. Morocco was a big changing point when I started to spend a lot of time there. I think you can't help but live slower in that heat and in that kind of environment anyway. And I just saw like how it changed who I was. It changed how I saw life. So yeah, I would say that's kind of where the courage came from. I think it wasn't even courage, it was just realizing that like, oh, this is real life, It was that
Mm.
moment.
So during that time of transition from going from a faster paced life to a slower paced life, like, do you still hang out with the same kind of friends? Or like, how did that? Because I think that's a lot of where people get stuck, right?
Mm.
Is because they are a part of a friends group where a certain kind of behavior is normal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's about, and like then leaving that behind and going, actually, I can't be friends with these people anymore because that's not aligned any longer. Like, what was that transition like going from
Mm.
between, like, in that sort of between those two spaces?
I think it's a long transition. It's not something that you just wake
Mm,
up with in the morning and you're like, right, I'm going to cut all these friends out and that's it. I think the first thing is being confident enough to stay true to yourself
mm,
and to to firmly put your foot down in a not harsh way, like, I now reject your lifestyle and this is the lifestyle that I want to live. It's more about these are my boundaries, this is the way I want to spend my time. And if you love me as a friend, then you'll accept that, and that you'll see me at times that suits both of us, that works for both of us. And it's not about
Mm.
them going, it's not about saying to your friend who loves clubbing, for example, I'm only going to hang out with you at a yoga class, because that's excluding. It's having this kind of middle ground, isn't it? And being like,
Yeah, yeah,
this is the
yeah.
way I want to live my life. Could you meet me somewhere halfway? So I think it's like yeah, it was a long transition. It was years, like 5 years of transitioning. And no, those friends that I hang around with at that time, I don't hang around with anymore. And it wasn't like this person's bad for me, cutting them out. It just happened really naturally. I think as I grew
Mm.
and changed, those people dropped away, and new people who I aligned with kind of came along. But I think, yeah, it comes from that knowing, that true knowing of what is right for you. And I think that just comes with that mind body connection, doesn't it?
Mm.
It's having those moments to lay there and digest your feelings in a sound bath, in meditation. You know, you start to connect to yourself, and when something feels wrong, right? When something
Mm.
feels wrong for you, and you can just, it's just about putting your foot down and saying, no, I know this feels wrong, and I'm
Mm.
not going to do that. I'm not going to go against my intuition.
Mm. I still think that takes courage and strength, but which I think is incredibly powerful because I have done something similar. I did something similar when I was like, I think it was 23 and 22 and a half, I think,
Mm,
where I had a bit of a light bulb moment. I moved to London when I was like 21. I mean, I was much harsher than you, it sounds like, because I just went, I can't be friends with these people anymore, basically. So I dropped my entire friends group at
yeah.
like 22 and a half and had like 2 years basically by myself.
Mm. And that's a lot of courage, right? That's a lot of courage, and it's not a wrong thing, and it's not harsh to do that. Like, that was your truth. That's what you knew to be the right thing.
Yeah. I needed a 180-degree change because I was just like, what I'm doing right now, this is not working. So it sounds like to me like you also exercise, you do yoga quite a bit,
Yeah,
right?
I've practiced yoga for a number of years. Yeah.
So how come you chose to go down the sound route over the yoga route in terms of the kind of sessions that you're offering?
Mm. So I felt with yoga, the yoga that I do again is very intuitive. It's that intuitive movement.
Mm,
And yeah, I think when you do your yoga teacher training, I mean, I haven't done it, but it's very intense. There's lots of very strict rules and procedures. And I just really wanted something that felt, when I went into when I had sound sessions for myself, it felt very open, like I went in
mm,
with no expectations. There was none of that nerves of like, oh God, I need to like perform or be as good as everybody else in the room. Like, I was just gonna lay there and put an eye mask on. You don't have to be super skilled in that. And so yeah, I just wanted something to offer others, that felt as open and inviting as I felt sound was. And
mm,
also, just because for me, sound was the thing that it directly impacts me immediately. It's one of those things. I think with yoga, again, you have to build that mind body connection. Like, it takes kind of quite a while to practice. Whereas sound, I think immediately, if I hear a noise, I know whether I like that sound or whether I don't like that sound. I know how it makes me
mm,
feel. Um, and so I think other people are the same, right, with sound. I think they connect with it
mm.
very quickly.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you're right in a sense of that it is incredibly accessible, right? And I think people, for example, people have a certain connotation when it comes to the word meditation, right? Because it's like a practice, something that you have to do, something you have to engage with, and you think that you're doing it wrong and blah, 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 all of those kind of
Mm.
things. Whilst with sound, you just lie down and sort of receive those vibrations.
Yeah, I've had a lot of friends kind of come to me and say, "Do you know what, George? Every time I sit there in meditation, my brain won't stop."
Mm,
Whereas I'm like, well, actually, that's not the practice with sound meditation, for example. What happens is you're focusing, you're really being present with the sound, really hearing it, hearing how it resonates within you, in your mind and your body, and that in turn quietens your mind. It's not like you're
Mm.
trying not to think, you know, because trying not to
Mm.
think is so difficult for most people. But it's that practice of deep listening. Yeah, it takes you out of your mind, or it
Mm.
takes you inwards and you listen even deeper, you know.
Mm.
But it's not just about shutting anything out. I really
Mm.
encourage people in my sound sessions to be fully present in it. It's not about like switching off completely and going to sleep
Mm.
or having an empty mind.
Mm. So, where does the word Naga come from and what does it mean?
Wow. So Naga is Sanskrit for snake. So for me, that represented that Kundalini, the snake that sits at the bottom of
Mm.
your spine. Um, it's a really funny story. So I snakes have been something that's come up for me so many times, you know, like these signs from the universe.
Mm.
And I used to have dreams about them when I was a kid. I was terrified of snakes, terrified of them. Um, and those kind of dreams went on for years, kind of from the ages of like 5 till 10. I was having nightmares about these snakes. It was honestly, it was ridiculous when you look back at it. It was crazy. And then those kind of dreams stopped, and then they started again. Probably like 6 years ago, I started to have dreams of snakes, and
Mm.
that was at the beginning of my journey towards this. And so for me, the snake really represented really what like a kundalini, the kundalini snake represents. It's this unfurling, it's this building of energy moving upwards. Um, so yeah, that's where the name came from.
Because the snake is also the Ouroboros, right? Which is a snake that bites its own tail, which is the circle of life. And
Yeah, he's in. I mean, the snake is so symbolic in so many cultures, you know.
yeah.
It's that shedding of the skin. It's
Mm.
yeah, it's protection, it's wisdom, you know, in Hinduism, the cobra sits around Shiva's neck protecting. So yeah, there's so many meanings to it. And for me, you know, it's almost like I don't really know what that message was there for, you know, when I kept dreaming of the snake. But for me, it was just like leading me towards this path, right, that I'm going down
Mm.
now. So yeah.
Yeah, so because I also read on your website that did you train in Ayurveda or is that something you do for yourself?
Something that I do for myself, something that
Right.
has really helped me with my health, yeah. So, no,
Mm.
I haven't trained in it. I think it's one of these things that, yes, you can absolutely train in it, and there's so many different avenues again with Ayurveda, but I love the Ayurvedic concept of energies and the balance of energies within the body. It's something that really resonates with me, and then it's something that I brought into my sound work as well, because you know you can really feel if somebody comes in, you know, they might, for example, have a really strong heat energy, this kind of heat in the heart space, this kind of strong either anger, etc., etc. And it's about like balancing it, so you can balance that with the way that you apply sound. So maybe if it is heat, using more cooling kind of sounds, you know, maybe more of like the metal Himalayan bowls, more washing kind of textures, but then you can also complement that with scent, which I do in my sessions, so cooling scents,
Mm.
um, or herbal teas, for example. So herbal teas I blend around the doshas, which are the kind of energetic characteristics in Ayurveda. So yeah, it just really spoke to me, and it was something that I practiced that I feel like has really helped me in my health and me understanding my body better. And I thought, yeah, how could I bring that into these sessions to make them even more specific for that person? I didn't want to just do this kind of signature sound bath that I do every single time someone comes in. I wanted it to be, I wanted to meet someone where they were on the day.
Mm. And how does your clients sort of respond to this Ayurvedic aspect of like,
Mm.
do you call it Ayurvedic whilst you do it with them, or do you keep that kind of language out of it?
Difficult, yes. So I do use the language with the right people. I think you kind
Yeah.
of gauge that at the beginning as well. What I don't want is to feel like I'm schooling people, like they come in and I'm giving them like a whole lesson on Ayurveda at the 10 minutes before we start the sound. I kind of drop it in there and I let them lead if they want to ask more. I really kind of boil it down, explain it in kind of the basic forms, And
Mm.
again, some people I don't even mention it to at all. I just give them the tea that I feel that they need, and I do the session that I feel that they need, and then they feel the benefits themselves anyway.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
then I can then go into if they want to know why that session benefited them in that way.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just sort of pulling on that thread slightly in terms of how you change the language. Like, have you had any, because I've had this a few times, especially in like a corporate setting, for example, where somebody has come and then been incredibly skeptic to what it is that I'm doing. Like, have you had those experiences where somebody has come, been really skeptical to what it is that you do, and like then had like such a transformative experience by journeying alongside you on that sound journey?
Yeah, yes, I do. I have a lot of women in high-powered jobs is like
Mm.
my main clientele, I would say. And when they first come to me, it's like you can tell that they booked the session on like a to-do list kind of way of thinking, like, I'm stressed, I need to relax. Relax is now going in the diary. And so they turn up, and it's not that they're skeptic. I think it's just that they just want some nice time to lay down in a nice space and feel
Mm.
relaxed ultimately. And so they kind of come in and they're all busy, and they're still replying to emails like just as we're getting going, it's that kind of thing. And so it's not skepticism, it's more they don't, I would say they probably don't see the value in it.
Mm.
And then I think after that first session, they're like, oh wow, that went really, really deep. And then on the next time they come in fully present, fully like engaged in what we're doing. So it's not, yeah, I wouldn't say it's skepticism. I would say it's like underestimating the power
Yeah.
of
I mean,
sound.
I have to laugh at what you just said in the terms of like the person is like answering an email until the last
Mm.
possible second.
Yeah, yeah. And you're
But
just like,
also,
put the phone down.
it's like put the phone down. Because also
Mm,
it's like you're just not going to get the full experience if you're like on your phone until you're like lying down, you know? I mean, you obviously still have an experience and so on and so forth, but it's like it's allowing that sort of preparation beforehand as you sort of step into that space. So talk me through, let's say I came to visit you in Malo and you didn't know who I was. Like you had no
mhm.
idea. What would, when I arrive, like take me through what an experience with George is like.
Mm. So when we arrive into the space, I always say it's so important before we lay down and, really lock in, just to get used to the space. Again, like I'm a very sensory person, so like environment's really important to me.
Mm,
And I've definitely been in sessions before where you arrive and you almost instantly have to get into it. And I'm thinking, I don't even know where the fire exit is. Like I need
mm,
to know what's going on around me. I need to know my space. So I tend to leave people in the room just for a couple of minutes whilst I go and make us some tea. And I say to them, you can
mm,
touch anything, explore, move around, be really kind of comfortable with where we're at. And then it's funny, the transition from leaving them to go and get tea to returning, they're like different people already. It's suddenly like
mm,
they're all busy and excited, and then you come back into the room and they're already in that kind of space of feeling much more comfortable and relaxed. So we kind of start there, and then we both sit and share tea and chat, and that can look, very different for each person. Sometimes it starts with tears, sometimes it ends with tears. Sometimes I'm trying to like just get them to open up a little bit, but I really let that person lead because again, it's about like meeting them where they are. I don't want to force a session or say, right, we need to get into the nitty-gritty of why you're feeling stressed at the moment because sometimes that's
mm,
just too overwhelming for people.
mm,
Sometimes someone doesn't know why they're stressed out. They just don't want to feel
mm,
stressed, right? So I open up that space for them, and then when they feel ready or when I feel like that time's right, I try and not time this too much. I let that kind of happen. But when they feel ready, we then lay down and we start with just some gentle pranayama breath work. So if it's more than one person, this tends to be kind of like a systematic breath work that brings people down into that state. Or if it's a one-to-one, I use that breath work Ayurvedically. So again, it's
mm,
balancing whatever energy is in the body. So I'll kind of get like a read of like where they're at during the conversation, and then we'll kind of do the breath work from there. So in a one-to-one, we then kind of go on to like a soundscape. So just kind of a segment of the hour, hour and a half that I do, where it's just kind of a gentle soundscape. I use the gongs, I use different layers just to bring them into that space. And then we move on to the therapy bowl. So the therapy bowl is placed on the body. on energetic centers. And so I use Marma points, which are like acupressure points in Ayurveda. So you're placing this bowl on these certain areas to change the direction of energy or balance it, or increase it in that area, for example. So we move on to that part. That's quite a big part of the session. And then again, we end with some gentle pranayama just to bring life back into the body, and then end with a chat, just talking about what came up for them. And that really helps me to kind of feed into the next session. I always say the second session is the bit that we really go
Mm.
deep on. Mm.
Mm. That sounds gorgeous. That
Yeah,
sounds like a
yeah.
beautiful, because I think your session lasts 90 minutes, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so great that you've sort of created that spaciousness around it. Because I
Mm.
think in London it's like you have an hour, you're in, you're out, and you're done, basically.
Yeah, and I felt like it was an hour to begin with, and I was starting to feel like rushed, first of all.
Yeah.
I remember when I first started doing sound, actually, an hour felt like forever. Like it felt like, how am I going to make noise for an hour? But
Mm.
now, like the longer I've gone in doing this, I'm like, I need longer than an hour and a half. I could be doing this for like 2+ hours. So yeah, I think an hour and a half just allows that space either side. To be honest, it usually does go on for longer than an hour and a half with the chatting either side, because we can just
Right.
keep going and going. But yeah, I would say an hour and a half minimum for something that in depth.
Mm. So you also you have a partner who you're married to. Like,
Mhm.
how do they? Because obviously you have, well, not obviously, but seemingly have quite a sort of spiritual life in the way that you move through your life with the sense, your sense of sensitivity and stuff. Like, are they spiritual? Like, how do they relate to what you do? Because what you do is obviously so niche, right? And so I
Mm.
think you have to have a specific partner to kind of go on that journey with you. And I think this is a lot of spiritual people's challenge, I guess, is to
Yeah.
find a partner who can go on that journey with you. So what's that been like for you and your partner?
So we've been together for quite a while, for 10 years. So he met me when I was 20, and
Mm,
he's really seen this whole, journey that I was talking to you about. Is, he's been there and seen all of that, right? And he's seen how it's benefited me. Um, and so he's super supportive. He's not particularly spiritual or
mm,
that into that world. He absolutely loves coming for a sound bath though. He's definitely like my demographic of clientele. So he's got a very busy corporate job. And yeah, he absolutely loves, when he comes back from travel, he travels a lot for his job. When he's come back from those trips, immediately he wants to have a sound bath. So I
wow.
don't, for him, he's super open to it. And just really supportive, which is lovely. And this is it, you're right. I think a lot of my friends who are in this world as well are looking for a spiritual partner, and that's like a
Mm.
really big criteria for them. I always kind of warn them against that, because I think that I always think that, like, you know, just having that kind of criteria of like they need to be spiritual. What does that even mean? What does that
Mm,
mean, right? So, for example, my husband lost his mum 6 months before we met, and he was quite young when he lost his mum. Um, and that for him was his spiritual awakening, it's that
mm,
kind of moment. And so whether he's not like practicing spiritual, but I would say like he is very connected without even trying, because of that kind of really dark time in his life. And I think that's how a lot of us get into spirituality, right? Like people tend
mm,
to get into it because of dark times in their life. So yes, I absolutely do not need to be with a spiritual person, as long as they are aware and connected to a meaningful life. I think is the most
mm.
important thing, not just being, you know, um not just kind of like plodding through life and just ticking the boxes. Like someone has to want more from life, or see life in a bit more of an expansive way, for me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's how I've always sort of articulated the criteria for me, I suppose, is that there has to be an openness to
Yeah.
what it is that I do, like an openness and an interest. Like they definitely do not need to be a quote unquote spiritual person as we are in a way, I guess, but
Mm,
like an openness to what I do. Otherwise, it would just create too much tension, right?
yeah.
I love that your partner comes for a sound bath when he has come home from his corporate travel. I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, yeah, it's like his request as soon as he gets through the door. It's great. Is your partner kind of spiritual or not so much?
He is open. He's very, very open, and I'll say that he is very connected, but also just has like a bog standard corporate job, basically.
Yeah, yeah. And that's what you said, connected is such a good word. It's that feeling of
Yeah,
connection to something higher, or it's that
yeah.
connection. I know exactly what you mean by that.
Yeah, and I think that's and just like an openness and curiosity towards what it is that I do, and that there's no judgment, for example, because that just wouldn't that would be vibrationally wrong, basically.
Oh,
So
absolutely. Yeah. If someone didn't agree with like, what I was doing, or they didn't see the value in it, that would really bother me. Like, I mean, that it just wouldn't work, right? Like
it just wouldn't work.
they have to see the value in what you're doing, and see that it works,
Yeah.
ultimately.
It's like when I arrived at his place yesterday. Apparently, there's a Jubilee. Do you know what Jubilee is on YouTube? Do you know the YouTube channel Jubilee? So
No.
it's a YouTube channel with loads of different content. It's quite entertaining, I guess. But yesterday, I'd found a video where there's like six people, and it's like one of them is a psychic, and one of them are not supposed to be, and one of them are like playing being a psychic, and the game is that you're supposed to figure out who in the group is not the psychic, basically.
Mm.
And that was the show. And he had found that before I arrived. So
Oh, okay.
so
He
it's
knows
like
what you like.
he knows what I like, and he was very open to it, and he also thinks it was interesting, basically, which I
Yeah.
think was really funny. So to start bringing things to a close, this is an optional closing if you want it. You're more than welcome to say no.
I'm saying
But
yes already. I don't even know what it is, but yes.
because I have my tarot deck here, and if you would like, I could pull some cards for you
Please do. I'd love to.
just as a closing reading. Have you had a reading
Mm.
before?
I haven't. No, I've
I
never had a tarot reading. I know. Can you believe? So this is
love
going to be
that.
great.
That's even better. That's even better. So we could approach this in a few different ways. Um, you can ask a question if you have one,
Mm-hmm.
or we can also just keep it open and see what the tarot wants to bring forward as some guidance right now. What would you like, George?
I would like to just keep it open.
Yeah, sure.
Listen to what the universe has to say to me.
Listen to what the universe has to say. So, the tarot has 78 cards. Each card has a picture. Historically, each card has been assigned a meaning. I do, of course, work with those meanings and pictures, but I also just work with what it is that I pick up in the moment.
Great.
All right. Let's see what the tarot wants you to bring forward in this moment. Well, I love that we just brought in our selective partners towards the end. I mean, the lovers within a tarot deck doesn't always mean romantic love, but the
Mm-hmm.
first card that showed up here is the lovers.
Mm.
Archetypally, the lovers also has to do with like passion. It also has to do with choices, right? It has to do with like making choices that feels very authentic and real, and sort of that has that real depth to it. It's interesting.
Interesting.
It's interesting. This feels more like a choice to me. And the second card that I have pulled for you is the Nine of Wands reversed.
Mm.
Upright, you can see this guy. He's standing in front of a wall. He's holding his stick. He's built a wall behind him. He looks a bit wounded.
Mm.
And I don't know if there's a situation in your life right now where perhaps you have experienced something where something has been slightly walled up. I mean, I now know that you are a Cancerian, right?
Yeah. I'm just living behind a wall. Yeah.
Living behind a wall. And I wonder with this walled up character, it doesn't have to be with your romantic partner, it could also be with something else that you are feeling. Perhaps there's something in your life where you're feeling at the moment overly protective, basically. and perhaps
Mm.
there's some walls around that that needs to be slightly softened, basically, to let in something new, because you've sort of started guarding something a bit too hard,
Mm.
and there
That's interesting.
might be something that needs to be softened in this nine of wands, basically, because
Okay.
I think that, so basically the last card that I have pulled for you is Temperance, and Temperance is also reversed. I'll show you what it looks like upright. I mean, I think this,
Mhm.
the design of this card specifically is like beautiful, because you got
So
this woman.
beautiful.
She's holding a cup there. She's holding a cup over here. She's got those wings. She's a tree. She's like really connected to the earth.
Mm.
And upright, this card is all about like balance, ease, harmony, being in flow. And of
Mm.
course, with that being, with that card being reversed, it tells me, and it sort of is connected with
Yes,
whatever
very.
is going on, whatever is going on over here, right? Is that there's, and that's causing some level of like imbalance. And I think that perhaps what you need in this moment is that, and actually, I think this is the message here largely is about thinking about what areas of your life have you perhaps for a little while decided to ignore, which is creating some imbalance in your life and that you've sort of
Mm.
lost some touch with. And the invitation here is, where do you need to bring that balance back in again, basically? Where,
Mm.
what's, I also just think like what am I trying to say here? It's like what's become it's also about like what's become too much of a routine, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Like that
interesting.
same again and again. Like where have you lost that spark,
Yeah,
basically?
yeah, yeah. Okay, interesting.
The
Mm.
well-trodden road, like in the rut of things, basically. And how can you bring that sort of fire that exists within the lovers? Because there's also fire energy behind here, right? Behind the
Interesting.
lovers. And where can you reignite that fire I'm just gonna say
Yes.
shake things up, basically.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like removing that wall to
Yeah,
let it flow, you know?
yeah. Because
Hmm.
somehow that's creating some unintended consequences, basically, or some unintended imbalances, basically.
It's very
And
interesting.
that's yeah, that's what the tarot would like you to, yeah, bring some alignment
Ooh.
back into shape, basically. How does that resonate with you?
Definitely something to muse on for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's almost hard to pinpoint what it is. It could be such a number of things.
Sure.
There's a lot of change at the moment in terms of, I think I mentioned to you, me and my husband are looking for this holiday home. And whereas, we're wanting to open it up as a space, a retreat space for people to come to
Mm.
retreat. And so yes, this is definitely like something that I'm driving the retreat aspect, obviously, whereas he's seeing it more as like a holiday home for us, a life for us for the future. Maybe it's something around that kind of
Mm.
alignment, and I'm always
Mm.
trying to shake up, and I love change. I'm really not one of these people that can stay still for long anyway. So I'm
Mm.
always wanting kind of change. So maybe it's that feeling of me wanting to shake things up a little bit, step outside and do something a bit different. Yeah, something to muse on with that anyway.
I love the idea of that holiday home and turning that into a retreat center. I'd be like, I'll volunteer. I'll
I
come.
volunteer as tribute. Yeah, I know
I,
it's gonna be such a lovely space, just somewhere near the sea that we can just, yeah, be really connected in nature, somewhere that a living temple, somewhere a bit bigger. Yeah.
And I mean, I think, the lovers is certainly inviting in some passionate choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. God, yeah, you're gonna have to send me those so I can like remember this. Like I'm gonna have to put it up somewhere to make me think about it.
I will do. I will send you a photo of them.
Mm.
George, where can people find you?
So I have an Instagram page called Temple of Naga. So that's the best place to find me, but all of my information's on my website. I spent a lot of time really curating the website so that things aren't over explained, and you kind of get a little bit of a feeling for how you're going to feel at
Mm.
one of my sessions. So I would say the best place to go is my website.
Yeah, which is all very beautifully curated and designed. I love it. Your
Thank
aesthetic is
you.
very, I can see when you talk about creating a feeling, that feeling is very much there.
Ah, thank you. That's really kind. Yeah, it's the feeling that I want to feel in my life as well, it's
Mm.
what I'm trying to, and a lot of people kind of think, oh, George lives this really beautiful, calm life all the time. Not true. Not all the time, but that's how I want to feel all the time, and that's how I want
Yeah, yeah.
people to feel when they're with me. So, yeah,
Yeah,
thank
yeah, we
you.
try we try our best. We try our best,
Mm,
basically.
thank
Well, thank you
you.
so much for coming on. This has been such a pleasure, and I have to find my way out to Marlow and come for a session.
Oh, you absolutely should, and thank you for having me. It's been really good getting to know you.
You too. Well, thank you so much for listening, everybody, and I'll see you here next time. Bye, everyone. Bye.